Hello again, dear friend. Come sit beside me for a little while. Let's imagine ourselves on a shaded porch. A gentle breeze rustling the leaves and a warm cup of tea resting in your hand. There's a quiet kind of magic in the morning light, isn't there? Especially when it dances across tiny blossoms or glimmers in the dew, resting on a leaf's edge. Now picture your patio balcony or little garden corner, not as it is, but as it could be. Not filled with expensive things or store-bought perfection, but with small wonders made from what others might throw away. A chipped teacup, a drawer missing its knobs, or an old wooden ladder leaning forgotten in the shed. Each one waiting not to be discarded, but to be transformed. You don't need youth strength or money to create beauty. You don't need fancy tools or a landscaper's know-how. What you do need, and what I know you already have, is imagination. A gentle hand, a good story or two, and a heart that still believes in second chances. That's what this visit is about. Together we're going to wander through 40 sweet and simple garden ideas, each one born from something humble, a household item, a thrift store treasure, a bit of what others might call trash. But in your hands, these things bloom. They shine. They come alive again. We'll talk about ways to make your garden smile, without bending, without lifting, and certainly without overspending. Every idea in this little journey is a soft whisper reminding you you still create beauty. So let's step through the gate and into the garden, shall we? Let's make something lovely out of what we already have. Together. Do you remember the smooth feel of a riverstone in your hand as a child? Maybe you used to collect them on walks or line them up on a windowsill like tiny trophies from the natural world. There's something comforting about their weight, their simplicity and their silent, steady presence. Now imagine taking those very stones or similar ones you might find in the garden or at a dollar shop and turning them into cheerful little cacti. No thorns, no watering, just charm. Start by gathering a few round flat stones. The smoother, the better. You'll also need some outdoor acrylic paint in shades of green, white, and pink, and maybe a touch of yellow if you're feeling sunny. Paint each rock in varying shades of green. Then once dry, use a fine brush or even a white paint marker to draw on little spines, dashes, dots, or zigzags to mimic the look of a real cactus. These details make all the difference. Once your cactus rocks are ready, nestle them into a terracotta pot filled halfway with pebbles or moss. You can add real succulents around the edges or keep it all faux, a playful illusion. Use a few different sizes of rocks to create a natural clustered look, just like a cactus family huddled in the desert sun. This little display is perfect for a sunny porch or windowsill, no bending, no digging, no dirt under the nails. And it never wilts. It's especially friendly for anyone with limited mobility or who simply prefers beauty without the fuss of live plants. And here's a sweet touch label the pot with a handwritten tag that says, "Still growing in our own way." Because just like us, these painted cacti may not be blooming in the traditional sense, but they're still full of life, color, and purpose. What a joy it is to find usefulness again in something so simple. A rock, a brushstroke, and a bit of care. It's not just a garden idea, it's a little metaphor for life. Still useful, still beautiful, still here. Do you still keep a few mason jars tucked in the cupboard? Maybe they once held homemade jam or buttons sorted by color, or perhaps they were just too pretty to toss. Those sturdy glass jars, simple, clear, and honest, are quietly waiting to be useful again. Let's bring them out into the light, shall we? Imagine a wooden pallet, slightly weathered, maybe picked up from behind a local hardware store or garden center. Lean it against a fence, or mount it securely to a sunny wall. Then, using metal hose clamps or sturdy wire, attach several mason jars in neat rows, each one its own tiny pot of possibility. Fill the jars with a bit of gravel for drainage, then add potting soil and tuck in seeds or small starts of herbs, basil, parsley, rosemary, mint, all the comforting scents of the kitchen garden. Place the sun-loving ones near the top, and those that prefer partial shade closer to the bottom. Nature will take care of the rest. Because the jars are see-through, you'll begin to notice the gentle miracle of root growth, the way the earth clings to life, even in a little glass. You'll see condensation after watering tiny leaves pushing upward, And soon, the rich aroma of herbs will greet you each time you pass. There's no need to bend or kneel. Everything is at eye level, perfect for patios, balconies, or anywhere ground space is precious. And because the jars are off the ground, they're safe from rabbit slugs and other curious nibblers. Harvesting is simple: a few snips with scissors, a gentle rinse, and suddenly dinner tastes fresher. A sprig of thyme for roasted vegetables. A bit of mint in your tea. It's these small touches that turn everyday meals into acts of self-care. Best of all, you've made something useful and beautiful out of what others might overlook. No fancy planters, no expensive kits, just jars, wood, and a little imagination. And maybe that's the truest kind of gardening, not conquering the land, but gently coaxing it to life. One jar, one seed, one day at a time. Think back, dear friend, to a time when windows opened wide on spring mornings, letting in the scent of lilacs or the distant hum of bees. A window doesn't just show us the world it frames, it softens it, invites us to pause. Now imagine that same feeling in your garden. Not with glass, but with a weathered wooden window frame, one whose panes are long gone, whose paint might be peeling just a little. Once discarded, now reborn, a picture frame for your flowers. To begin, find an old window frame at a thrift store salvage yard, or even from a neighbor's remodeling leftovers. No glass is needed, just the structure. Prop it upright against a fence wall or large flower pot. Secure it with garden stakes or bricks if needed. Now tuck in a few climbing plants nearby, morning glories, sweet peas, or even ivy if you're after year-round greenery. As they grow, gently weave their tendrils through the empty panes. Over time, those vines will frame the open space just like a living photograph, green leaves spilling through each square, tiny blossoms popping up like memories from another time. Beneath the frame, you might place a row of mismatched terracotta pots filled with trailing blooms, perhaps in pinks, purples, or whites. Or maybe a small bench to rest on while sipping your morning tea, watching bees dance in the blossoms. There's something tender about mixing wood that has aged with plants just beginning. The frame becomes a quiet storyteller in your garden, whispering of houses long gone, seasons past, and now a new life among the leaves. This kind of project doesn't ask for lifting or labor. Just gentle tending, just time. You can change the plants with the seasons: autumn mums, spring pansies, or summer vines. And if your hands feel tired, the wind will help guide the vines for you. The old window may no longer let light in, but now it lets life through. And isn't that the better gift? Because sometimes the things that no longer fit inside a house were meant to bloom outside it instead. Do you remember the creak of an old wooden ladder as you reached for something just out of arm's length? Maybe it was once used to hang curtains, paint a wall, or help you pick apples from a tree. Over time, it may have been tucked away, a bit too wobbly for climbing, but too dear to toss. Well, today that old ladder finds a new life, not for going up, but for growing up. Lean your ladder against a sunny wall or sturdy fence. The kind with flat steps works best, though even rounded rungs can cradle small pots with a bit of care. You're not building anything complicated, just letting gravity, charm, and a touch of whimsy do the work. On each step, place a potted plant. Start with smaller ones near the top, and work your way down with fuller trailing varieties. Marigolds, petunias, pansies, maybe even herbs like oregano or chives. If your ladder has a wide stance, you can nestle a few more pots around its feet, softening its edges with color and greenery. This gentle cascade of blooms draws the eye upward and gives your garden vertical life, which is a blessing when ground space is scarce. And there's no need for digging or bending. You simply place water and enjoy. The wood of the ladder, whether painted, stained, or weathered by time, becomes part of the beauty. Each nick and scrape tells its own story. And when the sun hits it just right, it doesn't look like clutter, it looks like art. If you're feeling fancy, you could tie on some ribbons, add a little sign, Nana's Garden perhaps, or hang a small lantern or wine chime from the top rung. But even bare, even simple, it holds so much character. It shows the wisdom of using what we have, of climbing a different kind of ladder now, one that leads not to chores or ceilings, but to joy. Because sometimes the best view doesn't come from the top. Sometimes it's right there at eye level in a bloom you planted yourself. Do you remember the simple joy of resting on a garden bench, maybe with a friend, maybe with your thoughts as birds trilled softly and petals drifted like slow confetti to the ground? A place to pause, to breathe, to take in the world you've helped grow. That kind of space doesn't require expensive furniture, just care, and maybe an old wooden pallet. Pallets are the quiet workhorses of shipping and storage. But in your hands, dear friend, they can become a place of peace. To begin, choose 1 or 2 solid pallets. Many stores give them away for free, and their rough-hewn wood adds rustic charm that's already seasoned by time. Place 1 pallet flat on the ground as your bench seat. If you have another, prop it vertically against a wall or fence as a backrest, securing it if needed. Add a few outdoor cushions or an old quilt folded neatly across the seat, something soft to rest on, something inviting. Now comes the magic. Surround your pallet bench with container plants, not heavy ones, but lightweight buckets, recycled tins, or baskets filled with color and scent. Let bright geraniums tumble from one side and delicate lavender wave on the other. Maybe a few daisies smile up from a painted pail, or trailing ivy curls gently toward the earth. You haven't just made a seat, you've created a nook. A little corner carved out from the rush of the world, a place where time slows down and peace blooms freely. Set a small folding table nearby with your gardening gloves and shears. Or maybe just a cup of tea. You don't have to move far. Everything is reachable within arm's length, perfect for days when your knees whisper, "Not today." And the best part? It costs almost nothing. You saved wood from the landfill, you used pots you already had, and you gave yourself something priceless, a place to be. This is what creativity looks like in the golden years. Not grand gestures, but gentle transformations. Not flashy, but faithful. Like a bench made from scraps that becomes a throne in your garden, simple, sturdy, and beloved. Have you ever opened an old paint can and smiled at the color that once brightened your walls? Maybe it was lemon yellow in the kitchen or seafoam green in the bathroom, shades of old seasons, old homes, old chapters. Even when empty, those cans hold stories. So why not let them bloom again? Instead of tossing them, let's turn those paint cans into cheerful hanging baskets. A garden idea that floats, sways, and lifts the spirits without taking up a single inch of floor space. Start by cleaning out your empty paint cans. Any size will do. If there's a bit of rust or chipped paint, all the better. It adds to the charm. Give each can a fresh coat of color, something bright and joyful. Think turquoise, coral, sunflower, yellow, or lavender. Or go simple with white and let the flowers do the talking. Next, use a nail and hammer to punch a few small drainage holes in the bottom of each, can then line them with a bit of moss or a coffee filter before filling with potting soil. Choose lightweight trailing flowers, petunias, pansies, or calabrachoa, things that spill gently over the rim like laughter from a friend's lips. Attach strong wire rope or jute to create a handle for each can. Then hang them from a pergola, a tree branch, or even hooks on your patio railing. Stagger the heights to create movement and rhythm like notes in a song. What you'll have, dear friend, is a bouquet suspended in air, dancing in the breeze, catching the light, lifting hearts. And because they're lightweight, you can swap them out with the seasons, move them to follow the sun, or bring them closer to your favorite chair when you want something beautiful in view. This is vertical gardening at its happiest. No kneeling, no heavy lifting, just joy hanging at eye level. And best of all, you didn't buy anything new. You used what was already there, a forgotten can, a bit of paint, a splash of imagination. In a world that rushes to throw things away, you chose to make something bloom. That's not just gardening, dear one. That's grace in action. Do you remember those old hanging shoe organizers that used to live behind the closet door? The kind with neat little fabric pockets that once held sandals in summer and cozy slippers in winter. Well, my friend, today those humble pockets become a wall of green scent and usefulness. Yes, we're turning a fabric shoe organizer into a vertical herb garden. And it's just as simple as it sounds, with no soil beds, no bending, and barely any tools at all. Begin with a clean, sturdy fabric organizer, the kind with deep, breathable pockets. If you have one tucked away in storage, that's perfect. If not, they're easy to find secondhand for just a few dollars. Hang it on a sunny wall fence or wooden gate using nails, hooks, or zip ties. Now comes the fun part. Fill each pocket with potting mix, just enough to support a small root system. Then gently tuck in your herb seedlings. Basil, thyme, rosemary, parsley, mint. Oh, the sense you'll grow. Each pocket can hold one type, making it easy to organize water and harvest. You can even add little handwritten labels, a tiny tag with the plant's name, or perhaps something more personal like Mom's Mint or Nana's Tea Time. That's the beauty of gardening. It holds space for memory as well as growth. The vertical layout means no stooping, no crawling through garden beds, just a little tending at shoulder height. Perfect for balconies, patios, or even sunny spots near the kitchen door. And when you water, do so gently. The fabric will absorb some moisture, helping the plants stay cool and reducing runoff. You'll notice how the leaves begin to reach for the light, how the air smells sweeter, how dinner becomes just a bit more special when your herbs come fresh from the wall. This idea is more than just practical. It's a quiet revolution, a way of saying I can still grow things, even in a small space, even with limited mobility, even when the world says you need more, because you don't. You just need a little pocket of sunlight, a seedling, and the wisdom to know that the best things often grow from the most unexpected places, like an old shoe rack turned into a vertical garden of hope. Do you remember those summer evenings when the sun would slowly melt into the horizon, and the light would soften everything, the flowers, the fence, even the lines on our hands? Maybe you sat outside, tea in hand, watching the world grow still. Those kinds of nights deserve a little glow, don't they? Let's make it with nothing more than a mason jar, a bit of twine, a flickering flame, and a sprig of something green. This idea starts with a few clear mason jars, the kind you might have stored buttons in or used for pickles once upon a time. Clean them up and wrap a length of jute twine or sturdy string around the neck of each jar to form a secure hanging loop. You can tie a simple knot or get fancy with a few twists, whatever suits your mood. Now place a small tea light candle in the base of the jar, a battery-operated one if you prefer safety and simplicity, or a real wax candle if you're drawn to the gentle flicker of flame. Nestle fresh herbs around the candle, sprigs of rosemary, mint, or even a little basil. Not too much, just enough to frame the light and lend a subtle scent to the air. Hang the jars from a pergola beam, a low tree branch, or hooks along your porch. As evening comes, light them one by one and watch the garden transform. The soft glow will reflect through the glass, bouncing off the greenery inside and casting tiny moving shadows on nearby leaves. It's like watching the stars twinkle a little closer to home. And here's the part that makes it truly special. Those herbs aren't just for decoration. You can pluck them to garnish a glass of lemonade, flavor your dinner, or rub between your fingers just to release their calming scent. It's a garden you can feel, smell, and carry into the kitchen, all held in your hand. There's no digging, no lifting, just simple materials arranged with care. And the result, pure magic. Because sometimes the light we need isn't overhead. It's within reach, something we've made ourselves, from jars that once held jam from herbs we grew in love, from hands that still know how to create peace. Do you remember old tires piled behind the shed? Maybe they came from a car you sold long ago or a lawnmower that no longer runs. Heavy, dusty, forgotten. Most folks see junk. But you see potential. That's the heart of gardening. With love, we don't just plant flowers, we give second chances. Even to old tires. Let's make something bold, cheerful, and full of color. A flower tower made from tires you might have thought belonged in the dump. Begin by gathering 2 or 3 used tires. Don't worry if they're mismatched, we'll cover them in joy. Clean them with soap and water, then let them dry in the sun. Afterward, paint them in bright, playful colors. Sunflower, yellow sky, blue coral pink, or apple green. You can even add polka dot stripes or flower shapes if you're feeling artistic. Use outdoor acrylic or spray paint, whatever's easiest on your hands. Once dry, stack them wherever you have a bit of space, against a wall, in a sunny corner, or beside your garden bench. Make sure the bottom tire sits level and steady. Then fill each one with potting soil, one layer at a time. Plant blooming flowers near the edges. Marigolds, petunias, or pansies work wonderfully. Their blossoms will spill over like little waterfalls of color. If lifting is difficult, you can prep each tire on the ground before stacking, or enlist a kind neighbor or family member to help you build it slowly with care. As the days pass, your tire tower becomes a beacon not just of flowers, but of resilience. You've taken what was meant to be discarded, and you've turned it into joy. The best part, it's incredibly durable. These towers can withstand the weather, they won't tip easily, and they're low to the ground, meaning they're safer and easier to manage. You can water with a gentle hose or cup and change out plants with the seasons. It's a wonderful project for grandchildren too. Bright paints, messy hands, giggles in the sun. A memory planted beside the flowers. And isn't that what gardening is about? Turning what's ordinary, even what's worn out, into something lovely. A tire becomes a planter. A patch of earth becomes a sanctuary. And we, my dear friend, become creators once more. Do you remember the way light used to dance off the edge of a glass teacup in the morning sun? That sparkle, that quiet magic. It doesn't take much to bring that same glimmer into the garden. Sometimes it's as simple as a globe covered in broken beauty. Let's take something plain, even cracked like an old gazing ball, a thrifted bowling ball, or a cement sphere, and turn it into a mosaic treasure. Start with your base, a round object with a solid core. Then gather your mosaic materials, bits of broken plates, mirror shards, old CDs, glass tiles, or even seashells if you have them. Pieces of color and memory. Things that might have come from a chipped dish you couldn't bear to throw away, or a mirror from the hall that saw your children grow up. Using weather-resistant adhesive, begin placing the pieces along the globe's surface. Don't worry about perfect patterns. The beauty lies in the irregular, the handmade, the story. Space the pieces just slightly apart. Then, once everything is dry, fill the gaps with grout soft gray or sandy beige, something that lets the colors sing. Wipe it clean, let it set, and then nestle your globe gently into the soil among the greenery. Place it where the morning light can catch it, near hostas by the herbs, or beside your favorite bench. As the sun shifts, you'll notice flickers of color dancing across the leaves, as if the garden is winking back at you. There's no bending required once it's placed. No weeding, no pruning, just enjoyment. And every time you see it, you'll be reminded even broken things can shine. These mosaic globes are perfect for tucking into corners that feel a bit bare, or using as soft borders for pathways. Make one or a whole family of them in different sizes. They're quiet sculptures, and they don't need watering. And if someone asks where you bought it, you can smile and say, "Oh, that I made it from the old and the beautiful." Because, dear friend, that's the truth of aging and of gardening. What the world calls broken, we call seasoned. What others discard, we cherish. And what no longer serves its first purpose, often blooms in its second. Do you remember old wooden crates from back in the day? The kind that once held fruit at the market or jars of preserves in the pantry. They were humble and strong, built to carry weight just like us. And now, even in their weathered years, they're ready to hold life again. This idea is one of the most satisfying ways to create structure in a small garden, without taking up much space or needing to bend. A stacked crate succulent wall is both art and utility, a vertical tapestry of green. To begin, gather a few reclaimed wooden crates. You might find them at flea markets, garden centers, or thrift stores, or maybe you have one tucked in the garage. Choose crates that are sturdy but light enough to move without strain. If you'd like, give them a gentle sanding or a coat of natural wood stain, but their aged look is part of the charm. Now imagine them not as boxes but as shelves in your living garden gallery. Stack them against a wall staggered like bricks, or lean them in a pyramid shape. You don't have to secure them permanently if you don't want to. Gravity and careful placement will do just fine. Some can stand upright as shelves. Others can lay flat and be filled directly with soil and plants. Into each crate, place a small arrangement of succulents, hens and chicks, echeveria string of pearls, jade plants. These are perfect for small spaces. They're resilient low water and come in soothing shades of green, pink, and dusty blue. Use lightweight pots or recycled tins inside the crates if you'd prefer not to plant directly into them. Add bits of moss or bark to soften the edges and bring a natural cozy feel. What makes this idea so senior-friendly is that you can build it at your height. No bending to the ground, no heavy lifting. Just you, your hands, and a collection of tiny living sculptures arranged however your heart sees fit. And it's not just a wall, it's a story. Each plant, each crate a chapter. The crate that once carried apples now holds sedum. The one that might have lived in a grocery store now lives in your garden, offering rest to quiet beauty. It reminds us that nothing and no one is ever too old to bloom again. We just need the right light, the right care, and a little space to grow. Remember those old rubber boots by the back door, the ones caked in mud from spring walks or rainy day errands? Maybe they belong to your children or even your grandchildren, little feet splashing in puddles, squealing with joy. What if those same boots, now too small or too worn to wear, could hold something beautiful instead of dust? Let's give them a new adventure, not down the street, but up on the fence filled with flowers and sunshine. A rain boot flower row is one of the most whimsical, cheerful garden displays you can create, and it doesn't require digging, lifting, or much more than a hammer and a few sturdy hooks. Start by gathering a few old boots they don't have to match. In fact, the more colors and sizes, the better. If you'd like, give them a fresh coat of pastel paint, or leave them as they are letting their scuffs and stories show. Drill a few small holes in the soles for drainage. This part can be done by someone else if your hands need a rest. Next, fill each boot with a bit of gravel, then potting soil. Tuck in flowering plants that bloom with joy, petunias, pansies, daisies, or even trailing vines like sweet potato or ivy. The flowers will burst upward and over time spill out over the tops of the boots like laughter overflowing a cup. Now, using nails or hooks, hang your boots in a row along a fence or wall-eye level is perfect. Stagger their height slightly to create a playful rhythm. The effect is delightful, a parade of blooms dancing across the wood, each boot its own little stage. This project is perfect for narrow patios or balconies where ground space is tight. And because it's vertical, everything stays within easy reach, no need to bend or kneel. You can water with a small jug, snip blooms for a vase, or just pause in front of them with your morning tea, smiling at their charm. There's something deeply comforting about this kind of repurposing, giving new purpose to what's worn. The boots may not keep your feet dry anymore, but they'll still make you happy. And isn't that the beauty of aging too? We might not run like we used to, but we still bloom in our own way and in our own time. Have you ever held something in your hands that was cracked? A favorite old mug, a chipped dish, a pot with one side broken, and felt a pang of sadness because you thought it was no longer useful? What if I told you, dear friend, that even the broken things can still hold wonder? A broken terracotta pot, the kind many would toss aside, can become the setting for something magical, a fairy garden. Not grand, not complex, but soft, whimsical, and full of delight. Start with a large clay pot that's cracked or split. If the break creates a natural opening, perfect, that will become your little hillside. If not, you can gently tap the rim with a hammer wrapped in a cloth for safety to create a layered effect. The goal is to create tiers, steps, or terraces like a miniature landscape carved into the earth. Now fill the pot with a mix of potting soil and moss. Arrange the broken shards like steps winding up a hill. Then begin to build your tiny world. Add creeping plants like baby tears thyme or moss, anything low-growing and soft. Place a tiny door against the soil, a pebble path leading up, maybe a miniature bench, a painted stone cottage, or even a small fairy figurine tucked among the greenery. If your hands prefer to rest, you can purchase small fairy garden accessories from a dollar store or nursery. Or enlist the grandkids, let them choose a tiny creature or help you plant the moss. It's not about perfection, it's about storytelling. Set your fairy garden on a table, a ledge, or a patio corner where it can be admired up close, no bending needed. You'll be surprised at how many conversations it starts, how many smiles it brings. It's a miniature world that feels big with wonder. And here's the tender truth: when you create beauty from something broken, you're sending a message to yourself and to everyone who sees it that healing and magic are not just possible, they're real. This little garden may be quiet, but it speaks volumes. It says, I'm still here. I still matter. I still bloom. And perhaps that's why the fairies come, not for the flowers, but for the hope. Remember when bottle caps were metal and soda came in glass? You'd twist one off, hear that fizzy pop, and maybe save the cap without knowing why, just because it felt special. Tiny, colorful, ordinary treasures. Most people would throw them away. But you, dear friend, know that even the smallest things can be part of something beautiful. Let's turn those little lids into a mural. A flower garden made not from petals, but from plastic and metal, recycled, vibrant, and full of heart. To begin, gather your materials: colorful plastic bottle caps, old jar lids, even bits of broken kitchenware or thrifted plastic containers. The more sizes and colors, the better. You'll also need a backing, maybe a piece of scrap wood, an old shutter, or a sturdy bit of fencing. This will be your canvas. Arrange your bottle caps into flower shapes, large ones for petals, smaller ones for centers. Use bright colors, reds, yellows, blues, greens. Each piece clicks into place like a puzzle, forming a garden that will never wilt. Use strong outdoor adhesive or a hot glue gun, or get a little help if your hands need rest to secure each piece. The mural can be as big or as small as you like. Mount it on a wall, lean it behind your garden bench, or hang it near your patio door where you can see it from your kitchen window. The sunlight will bounce off the plastic, and every time you glance outside, it will greet you like a blooming bouquet, bright, joyful, and made by your own hands. And here's the lovely part, not a single flower needed water. Not a single item was bought new. This is gardening without soil, beauty without expense, art born from things most people would never think to keep. This is the kind of project that can be done slowly over days or weeks. Each time you finish a bottle, you're not just throwing something away, you're adding to your garden. It's a gift that builds itself piece by piece, like patchwork. And when someone asks how you made it, you can say from yesterday's scraps and tomorrow's joy. Because, dear friend, that's what you do. You turn leftovers into light. You see promise in pieces. And through your creativity, you show us all that nothing, not a cap, not a pot, not even a person, is too small to bring beauty into the world. Do you remember cracking eggs for Sunday breakfast, maybe into a mixing bowl for pancakes, or gently separating yolk from white for a lemon pie? Most of us toss those fragile shells away without a second thought. But today, dear friend, we'll treat them like the treasure they truly are, tiny cradles of life ready to begin again. Eggshells make the most perfect seedling starters. Delicate, natural, and already full of the nutrients young plants love. Next time you use eggs, crack them near the top instead of the center. Give them a gentle rinse and place each half back into the carton for support. That's your garden tray, one that came straight from your kitchen. Then with a spoon or your fingers add a bit of potting soil into each shell. Not too much, just enough to cradle a seed. Now choose your seeds. Basil, parsley, lettuce, even tiny tomatoes. Press 1 or 2 into each shell. Mist lightly with water and place the carton in a sunny windowsill or table near the light. Over the next week or so, you'll begin to see green shoots rise, a little miracle unfolding gently right in front of you. You can write the herb names on the shells with a marker, or decorate them with soft colors if you like. This is a lovely, low-effort project for mornings with tea, especially if your fingers want calm, delicate work. There's no lifting, no bending, just tending. And here's the beauty of it. When the seedlings are strong enough to move outdoors, you can plant the whole shell directly into the soil or a larger pot. Just give it a small crack at the bottom with a spoon to help the roots escape. The shell will slowly break down, nourishing the young plant as it grows. It's such a simple act. From what was once breakfast, something used and emptied, comes fresh life. Isn't that a kind of quiet poetry? These eggshell starters remind us that we don't always need something big to begin. A garden can grow from a handful of scraps. Hope can grow from what others discard. And in the same way, your days, your hands, your heart still hold the power to nurture, to create, to begin again, even from something as small and humble and perfect as an eggshell. Do you remember rinsing out bottles after a family picnic or lining them up by the sink to be recycled? We often see plastic as waste. But what if I told you that those very bottles, clear, ordinary, and often overlooked, could rise again as something vibrant, green, and full of life? That's the heart of this next idea, a vertical garden tower built entirely from repurposed plastic bottles. It's simple, space-saving, and so rewarding, especially if your patio is small and your dreams for greenery are big. To begin, collect a handful of large plastic bottles. 2-liter soda bottles work beautifully. Cut an opening along the side of each bottle wide enough to fit a few scoops of soil and space for herbs or flowers to grow. Poke a few drainage holes in the bottom and keep the caps on to hold in moisture. Then, using string wire or zip ties, stack them one above the next by securing each bottle to a wooden stake, PVC pipe, or metal rod anchored in a pot or bucket filled with soil. Think of it like a vertical column, with each bottle acting as its own miniature garden bed. Fill each bottle with potting mix and plant whatever brings you joy, leafy herbs like mint or basil, Cheerful blooms like marigolds or violas, or even salad greens that sprout quickly and offer a fresh bite for your plate. Because the tower grows up, not out, it's ideal for tight spaces like balconies or narrow patio corners. You don't need to kneel or dig. Everything is at arm's length, ready to tend with just a small watering can and a bit of love. And the best part, you've turned plastic waste into something nourishing, something useful. That's more than gardening, that's healing. You can even color code your bottles, paint their edges, or label each one with a little wooden tag. This tower doesn't just feed your plants, it feeds your spirit. Because you, dear friend, are living proof that beauty doesn't come from buying the newest thing. It comes from the gentle hands that see worth in what's been used. From the kind of wisdom that says, let's grow something right here, right now, with what we already have. A plastic bottle becomes a garden. A small patio becomes a sanctuary. And your creativity becomes the sunlight that helps it all begin. Do you remember walking through old houses where picture frames lined the walls, portraits of loved ones, hand-stitched samplers, quiet reminders of lives well lived? A frame doesn't just hold an image. It gives it meaning, a boundary, a place of honor. So why not frame something alive? This next idea brings together nature and nostalgia in the loveliest way, turning vintage picture frames into displays for trailing plants. A living wall gallery, one that grows, shifts, and breathes with time. Begin by collecting a few old frames. No glass needed, just the outer borders. Wooden ones with carved edges or a bit of age are especially lovely, but any sturdy frame will do. You might find them at a thrift store or tucked away in a closet from years gone by. Next, choose your backdrop. You can attach chicken wire mesh or breathable fabric to the back of each frame, something to support the plants while allowing air and water to pass through. If you prefer something simpler, hang a small potted plant directly within the frame's center, allowing vines to dangle below and peek through the edges. Select trailing plants that thrive in containers like string of pearls, ivy pothos, or creeping jenny. As they grow, they'll drape over the frame, softening every edge and adding texture and movement. It's like watching nature paint her own picture, little by little, leaf by leaf. Mount the frames on a patio wall fence, or even along your porch, wherever your eye naturally lingers. Each one becomes its own tiny window into a green world. And because they're vertical, they save space while offering height, elegance, and presence, no bending or heavy lifting required. This kind of living art can be changed with the seasons. You might start with fresh greenery in spring, then swap in dried flowers or air plants for autumn. The frames stay the same, like the bones of a story, while the plants add new chapters. And here's the most beautiful part: when you look at your framed living wall, you're reminded that life too needs a little structure, a place to grow within. And just like the frame doesn't limit the art, it reveals it. The quiet boundaries we live within often allow our best selves to shine. So frame your garden, frame your joy, frame this moment, because sometimes what blooms within the lines is the most breathtaking of all. Do you remember watching rain trickle down the gutters after a summer storm? The soft patter on the roof, the water trailing away in streams, carrying leaves and stories with it. Gutters were always the quiet workers of the home, unnoticed until needed. But even they, dear friend, can become something beautiful. Today, those same old gutters, bent unused or left over from a renovation, can be transformed into a striking and space-saving garden. A wall of blooms and greens, neatly arranged, always within reach. Here's how to begin. Gather a few lengths of old rain gutter. Aluminum or plastic works just fine. If they're a bit rusted or weathered, don't worry. A gentle scrub and a coat of paint, perhaps sage green, sunny yellow, or soft blue, will bring them back to life. Or if you love the rustic charm, leave them as is. Drill small drainage holes along the bottom of each section to keep your plants happy and healthy. Then mount the gutters horizontally along a sunny wall or sturdy fence using brackets or heavy-duty zip ties. Space them like shelves, one above the other, with enough room for light and air to reach each level. Now fill them with potting mix and begin planting. Herbs work beautifully here: basil, thyme, parsley, cilantro. Or go for pops of color with pansies, nasturtiums, or petunias. Mix in a few leafy greens like spinach or baby lettuce, and suddenly you've turned a fence into a farmer's market. Everything is at chest or eye level. There's no need to stoop or dig. You can water with a small pitcher harvest with scissors and admire your work with a cup of tea in hand. And because the structure is modular, you can add more rows, swap out plants, or rearrange as the seasons change. Flexibility without fuss. What makes this project so quietly lovely is that it brings order to the garden rows of life, growing in harmony, making use of vertical space in a gentle, rhythmic way. And it gives old materials a second chance. Instead of ending in a landfill, those gutters now cradle blooms and flavors, giving back more than they ever did before. Just like you, wise, enduring, and capable of blooming in the most unexpected places, because beauty doesn't always fall from the sky. Sometimes it grows upward from something once forgotten, now lovingly reborn. Do you remember saving coffee tins or soup cans because they were too good to throw away? Maybe they once held clothespins, crayons, or buttons. Or maybe they sat under the sink waiting patiently for a second life. Well, today is that day. Let's take those humble can symbols of everyday living and turn them into something whimsical and full of life, a colorful tin can trellis garden. One that climbs, sings with color, and brings cheer to the smallest spaces. Start by collecting empty metal cans. Any size will do, but medium ones are best for planting. Wash them well and remove any sharp edges. Then give them a coat of paint. Think cheerful shades: sunflower yellow, soft lilac, turquoise blue, or even a playful mix of polka dots and stripes. You don't have to be an artist, just paint with joy. Drill a few drainage holes in the bottom of each can, and if you'd like, punch small holes near the rim so you can hang them later with wire or twine. But here's the magic: instead of hanging them alone, you'll attach them to a wooden trellis or lattice. That trellis, which could be made from old crib slats, fencing pieces, or even a salvaged headboard, becomes the structure. The cans become the garden. Using hooks or screws, mount each painted can to the trellis. You can arrange them in rose spirals or scatter them like confetti. Then fill each can with potting mix and plant a mix of herbs, trailing flowers, or succulents. Rosemary, thyme, pansies, or creeping jenny, all happy in small homes. Place the trellis against a sunny wall or fence, and just like that, your garden is climbing. Colorful, alive, and best of all, kind on your back, your knees, and your budget. This setup doesn't ask much of you physically. Everything is reachable, manageable, and light. A perfect option for renters, apartment dwellers, or anyone working with limited ground space. And yet the result is bold and joyful, like a garden wearing its Sunday best. Each can tell a story. Each bloom is a little thank you for not giving up on what others might overlook. That's the quiet power of upcycling and of aging with grace. Because, my friend, a simple tin can hold more than a plant. It can hold color, it can hold purpose, and in your hands, it can hold beauty. Do you remember that old dresser from your childhood bedroom? The one with the squeaky drawers that stuck just a little when you pulled them out. Maybe it's long gone now, or maybe a lonely drawer still sits in the garage waiting for purpose. Well, today, let's give it one. A single wooden drawer, chipped, weathered, or painted in a color from decades ago, makes a perfect flower planter. Not just functional, but full of story. To start, choose a drawer that's shallow and manageable in weight. If it doesn't already have holes, drill a few in the bottom for drainage. Then you can leave the outside as is for that beloved rustic charm, or repaint it in soft cottage tones, dusty blue, sage green, or cream. Add drawer pulls, knobs, or even stenciled numbers if you're feeling creative. Line the inside with landscape fabric or newspaper to help retain soil, then fill with potting mix. Now comes the fun: choose flowers that spill and cascade: geraniums, trailing lobelia, marigolds, or alyssum. Arrange them like you're painting a picture, tall in the back, trailing in the front, a little wild, a little sweet. Set your drawer on a low bench, a crate, or even directly on a porch step. No need to bend or carry anything heavy. Just water gently and enjoy how your blooms spill over the sides like joy itself. And every time you see it, you'll remember drawers weren't only made to hold socks and scarves. They can also cradle life. Memories, yes, but also marigolds. Because, dear friend, your past has layers, and so does your garden. Do you remember leaning an old garden rake against the side of the shed, maybe after clearing leaves in the fall or turning soil in spring? Its wooden handle worn smooth from years of use, and the metal tines just a little rusty with age. That rake may no longer be ready for hard work in the dirt, but it still has something to offer. Let's turn that rake head, just the metal part, into a charming herb hanger for your porch or patio. A simple vertical display that brings fragrance and freshness right within reach. Start by detaching the metal rake head from its handle. Clean it gently, leaving just enough rust to show its age with pride like a gardener's hands. You can paint it if you'd like, or leave it raw and rustic. Mount the rake head on a wooden board, a fence post, or directly onto an outside wall. Each tine becomes a hook, ready to hold small potted herbs, garden tools, or bundles of dried lavender and rosemary tied with twine. Use lightweight hanging planters or small galvanized buckets. Fill them with soil and plant kitchen herbs, basil, thyme, mint, or oregano. Hang them one by one, watching the tines bloom, not with weeds this time, but with flavor and fragrance. What's lovely about this project is that everything hangs at eye level, no bending, no heavy lifting, just a wall of usefulness. Every time you cook, you can step outside, run your fingers over the leaves, and pick a sprig of something fresh. And more than that, it's a quiet reminder that even tools have second acts, that usefulness doesn't end with age or wear. Sometimes it simply shifts form. The same can be said of us, can't it? You're not what you once were, you're more. Softer in some ways, wiser in others. And still your days are capable of holding so much life. All it takes is a bit of imagination. And an old rake waiting patiently to bloom again. Do you remember those old metal colanders, the kind you'd use to rinse garden-picked strawberries or drain steaming pasta for Sunday dinner? They sat in kitchen sinks for years, helping to nourish families. And even now, long after their kitchen days are done, they can still bring beauty, just in a different way. A vintage colander makes the most delightful hanging basket. With its ready-made drainage holes and charming shape, it was practically born to cradle flowers. To begin, find a colander, maybe enamel-coated with tiny chips or plain metal dulled with time. Thrift stores are full of them, or you may already have one tucked at the back of a cabinet. If you'd like to refresh its look, a gentle scrub and a coat of spray paint in robin's egg blue or soft white will do wonders. Next, cut 3 equal lengths of chain or thick twine and attach them evenly to the rim using the colander's existing holes. Bring the ends together and hook them onto a ceiling hook tree branch or a shepherd's hook stand on your patio. Line the inside with a bit of moss or coconut coir to hold the soil in place. Then fill it with potting mix and plant something cheerful in spilling trailing petunias, lobelia, or sweet alyssum. As it fills out, it will cascade gently over the sides, dancing in the breeze like lace. Because it's elevated, it's easy to water and admire without strain. No bending, no crouching, just beauty that floats at eye level right where you can enjoy it. And there's something especially heartwarming about giving a kitchen item a new outdoor life. The same colander that once drained strawberries now cradles blossoms. A quiet transformation just like you. It reminds us that usefulness never truly ends. It simply evolves, becoming gentler, more decorative, more rooted in peace than urgency. So hang up that old colander, dear friend. Let it bloom. Let it whisper stories of meals shared and mornings passed, and remind you that even when our purpose shifts, we still have so much to give. Do you still have a teacup from an old set one with a little chip on the rim or a missing saucer? Maybe it was part of your wedding china or a gift from someone long ago. You've held on to it not for use, but for memory. And now, dear friend, it's ready for one more story shared with the birds. Let's turn that delicate little cup into a hanging bird feeder, a small offering of kindness to your feathered visitors. Begin with a teacup and saucer, or just the cup if that's all you have. The more delicate and floral, the better. This is meant to feel like a garden jewel. Use strong glue like E6000 to attach the cup to the center of the saucer, tilted just slightly as if pouring its contents out. Let it dry fully before continuing. Next, thread wire or twine through holes in the saucer. You can gently drill small holes if needed, or tie around the handle to create a hanger. Suspend it from a low tree branch, porch hook, or shepherd's pole, where you can easily reach it without stretching or lifting. Fill the cup with birdseed, sunflower seeds, millet, or a mix designed for your local songbirds. Before long, curious little visitors will come fluttering by. Chickadees, finches, maybe even a hummingbird or two if you place it near a flower patch. The chipped edge no longer matters. In fact, It only adds to the charm a soft imperfection that reminds us things don't need to be flawless to be loved or useful or beautiful. This is a project made for gentle hands. No digging, no heavy lifting. Just a quiet moment of placing filling and watching. Maybe with a blanket on your lap and a warm cup in your own hands mirroring the one outside. The teacup once held warm memories. Now it holds seeds of life. And as the birds come to visit, wings fluttering, seeds pecked, songs lifted, you'll feel it too, the joy of giving, of sharing space, of turning something chipped into something cherished. Because beauty, dear friend, often sings from the quietest corners. Do you remember seeing an old wagon wheel leaning against a barn or tucked behind a shed? Maybe it was part of a childhood memory, dusty roads, summer fairs, or stories of simpler times. That wooden wheel once used to carry goods, and people can now carry something else, beauty. A weathered wagon wheel makes a stunning flower display full of rustic charm and easy accessibility. No bending, no digging, just gentle layering of life. Start by finding a wheel. Wooden is best, but even a metal one will do. You might spot one at a flea market, a salvage yard, or perhaps tucked in the back of someone's garden waiting for a second act. If the wood is faded or cracked, embrace it. That patina is what makes it special. Place the wheel vertically against a wall fence or large planter. Some choose to mount it, others simply lean it in a cozy corner. Now here's the magic: use the open spokes as spaces to tuck in small potted plants or hanging jars. You can secure them with twine wire or small hooks attached to the spokes. Add trailing plants like ivy, petunias, or string of hearts in tiny pots or upcycled containers, old mugs, tin cans, or mason jars. The flowers spill down the spokes like gentle waterfalls. You can even weave fairy lights through the wheel if you'd like to enjoy the glow during warm evenings. And the best part, this project is nearly weightless for you. You're not hauling soil or lifting bags, just placing small bits of green where they'll shine, letting gravity and the wheel structure do the work. This wheel, once rolling through dusty roads, now stands still, but it's not idle. It holds life. It tells stories. It connects time and nature in the quietest, most beautiful way. And perhaps that's the lesson too. Even when we stop moving fast, we don't stop carrying meaning. We become steady-rooted, full of grace. So let your wheel bloom, dear friend. Let it hold flowers instead of freight. Let it be a circle of life, rest and renewal, just like your garden, just like your heart. Do you remember those old garden lanterns, the kind with smoky glass and a handle on top? Maybe it once lit your porch on summer nights, or sat on a holiday table flickering softly as laughter filled the air. Now, long after the candle has burned down, that lantern still has light to give, just in a new form. Let's turn it into a graceful planter, glowing not with flame, but with life. Begin with any lantern you have on hand, metal, wood, or glass. It doesn't matter if the glass is missing or fogged, or if the handle squeaks. In fact, that wear adds charm. Gently clean the inside, remove any leftover wax, and check for drainage. If there's no hole in the base, you can either drill one or place small stones in the bottom for water flow. Then add a small layer of potting soil and nestle in your plants. Succulents are perfect here, low maintenance, compact, and beautiful in detail. Or you might choose a miniature fern, mosses, or flowering plants like violas or pansies. If you want to create a true lantern garden, tuck in a faux candle or string of battery-powered fairy lights around the base of the plants. Place your lantern planter on a side table, patio step, or even hang it from a shepherd's hook. It becomes a glowing, living centerpiece, easy to move, easy to care for, and endlessly enchanting. And if your fingers tire easily or your energy is low, this is the perfect project. No bending, no heavy lifting. Just a few quiet minutes of planting and you have something beautiful that shines day and night. There's something deeply poetic about this one, friend. A lantern is meant to hold light, and now it does again, only softer, greener, quieter. It reminds us that we too can hold light in new ways. That even when the flame of youth fades, something gentler takes its place, something rooted, growing, and full of quiet joy. So let your lantern glow. Let it remind you that light comes in many forms and beauty in all seasons of life. Do you remember the old wooden chair that creaked when someone sat down? Maybe it lived in your kitchen or out on the porch, worn smooth by time and sun. Perhaps its seat gave out long ago or its legs wobbled just a little too much. Still, you never had the heart to throw it away. That's because, dear friend, it was waiting for this very moment to become a flower throne. An old chair, even broken or battered, can become a breathtaking garden planter, a quiet throne for blossoms and greenery. To begin, choose a chair with a sturdy back, even if the seat is missing or cracked. If the seat has gone perfect, that's where your flowers will go. Use a small wire basket or old colander to fill in the seat space. You can secure it with zip ties wire or small screws. Line it with cocoa fiber or moss to hold soil, then fill it with potting mix. Now the real fun begins. Choose a cascade of blooms that spill and flow like a gown. Petunias, sweet potato vine, nasturtiums, or begonias. Paint the chair if you'd like soft mint butter yellow or lavender, or leave it with its original chippy charm. Set it in a corner of your patio or tucked into the garden like a secret seat for fairies. It doesn't need to be moved, just admired. There's no heavy lifting, no strain, just gentle planting at a height that's kind to your back. And when the flowers bloom, they don't just grow. They sit proudly like royalty on a throne made by you. What's so touching about this project is that it honors the past. That chair held people moments' meals, and now it holds life again. It's not discarded, it's transformed. Just like so many things in this season of life, the beauty isn't in being perfect. It's in continuing to be useful, to be lovely, to be full of life. So let your old chair bloom, dear friend. Give it flowers instead of feet. Let it stand as a quiet reminder even broken things can be filled with joy. Have you ever leaned an old mirror against a wall and caught a glimpse of yourself? Or maybe the sky reflected in its glass. Mirrors have a quiet magic. They show us more than we expect. And in a garden, they can do something truly special. Make the space feel larger, lighter, and more alive. If you've got a weathered mirror tucked away, maybe from an old vanity or a thrift store find with a cracked frame, now's the time to bring it outside and give it new purpose. Start by choosing a mirror with charm. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, those little imperfections, the foxing on the glass, a chipped corner, only add to the enchantment. Clean the surface gently, then seal the frame with outdoor safe paint or weatherproofing spray if it'll be exposed to the elements. Next, place it in your garden like a secret window. Prop it against a fence, lean it behind a potted plant arrangement, or hang it on a patio wall. Aim it so it reflects greenery, sunlight, or a climbing vine, doubling the beauty with just a glance. Suddenly your small patio looks twice as wide. Your flowers seem to multiply. The light dances in new directions, and you find yourself drawn into the illusion, a secret garden within a garden. This gentle idea requires no tools, no strain, and no digging. Just placement vision and a willingness to let something old surprise you again. You can frame the mirror with trellised ivy or hang a wind chime nearby. As the breeze moves and the light shifts, your mirror garden becomes a living painting, a daily reminder that perspective changes everything. That's what this project teaches us in its quiet way. Even a small change in angle can make the world feel new. Even a reflection of flowers of light of yourself can hold healing. So go ahead, place the mirror. Let it stretch your space and your imagination. Let it remind you that beauty isn't always found in what's real. Sometimes it blooms in what's reflected. And in every reflection, dear friend, you'll see not just the garden, but the heart that made it grow. Do you remember seeing those old-fashioned bird cages, delicate metal frames, once home to finches or parakeets with tiny doors and curved tops like storybook towers? Perhaps yours has sat empty for years, a remnant of the past. But what if instead of holding a songbird, it held something that bloomed? That's the gentle charm of today's idea, turning a vintage bird cage into a graceful flower display, one that feels like a garden tucked inside a poem. Begin with an empty bird cage. It might be ornate or simple painted or rusted, large or small. If the cage has a removable bottom, line it with coconut coir or moss to hold soil. Otherwise, place a shallow flower pot or saucer inside to catch moisture. Now fill it with trailing plants or colorful annuals, think lobelia, bacopa, alyssum, or even tiny succulents tucked into the nooks. Let the foliage spill through the bars, softening the lines like lace peeking from a hem. You can hang the bird cage from a tree branch, a porch beam, or set it gently on a patio table as a centerpiece. Add fairy lights or ribbons for evening sparkle, or leave it simple and let the blooms speak for themselves. What makes this idea so lovely is the contrast, the gentle wildness of plants blooming inside a structure once meant to confine. There's something poetic in that. It's as though the garden is reminding us freedom isn't always about flight. Sometimes it's about transforming the space you're in. And there's no heavy lifting, no digging, just a soft gathering of blooms and a thoughtful touch. Ideal for older hands, gentle days, and peaceful afternoons. So let your birdcage bloom, dear friend. Let it cradle flowers instead of feathers, color instead of silence. Let it remind you that beauty can take root in the most unexpected places. Even in something once closed, something now open. Something like you that holds new life in every delicate line. Do you remember baking muffins or cupcakes for family gatherings, maybe blueberry for breakfast or banana nut with coffee in the afternoon? That old muffin tin with its dozen little cups may have cooled its last batch of treats, but it's not done serving joy just yet. Today we turn that humble kitchen relic into a charming mini garden, a soft grid of greenery and blossoms that's perfect for small spaces and small efforts. Start by finding a muffin tin. Metal is best even if it's rusted or stained. In fact, those signs of use add to its story. Drill a few tiny drainage holes in the bottom of each cup if possible, or line each one with small pebbles before adding soil. Now comes the fun part. Fill each cup with a different small plant, baby succulents, tiny herbs like thyme or oregano, or miniature flowers like violas or marigolds. You could even add moss or decorative stones between the plants for a finished look. Set the muffin tin on a low table windowsill or garden bench where it can be admired without strain. It's light, portable, and easy to water, just a little drink in each cup. If you want to take it further, paint the outside in cheerful colors or add labels to each plant. What's so heartwarming about this project is how simple and gentle it is. You're not digging deep beds or lifting big pots. You're just tending tiny pockets of life one by one, like planting small wishes. And it reminds us beauty doesn't always need space to thrive. Sometimes it's the smallest containers of time, of love, of tin that bloom the brightest. That muffin tin once brought nourishment to others. Now it brings joy to you. A different kind of recipe, but just as sweet. So go ahead, dear friend. Let it grow. Let your garden whisper from 12 little cups of earth, each one a soft reminder that even the simplest things like you still hold wonder. So here we are, dear friend, at the gentle close of our journey through 40 upcycled garden ideas, each one stitched together by memory, imagination, and love. From teacups and chairs to muffin tins and mirrors, we've wandered through a world where nothing is wasted and everything has the chance to bloom again. Isn't that what aging is too? A second bloom. A softer, wiser season where beauty comes not from speed or perfection, but from presence, from care, from knowing how to see treasure where others see trash. These little projects may seem simple, a drawer turned into a planter, a rake turned into a hanger, but they're more than decor. They are acts of hope, of belief. They say, I still have something to offer. My hands can still create. My heart still delights in small, lovely things. And isn't that enough? You don't need a big budget. You don't need perfect tools. You just need to notice, to wonder, to begin. So as the light softens over your garden and the breeze carries the scent of marigolds and mint, I hope you feel proud. Not because everything is finished or flawless, but because you saw the possibility in old things, in quiet corners, in yourself. Which idea brought you the most joy? Was it the birdcage, the mirror, the tiny muffin tin full of life? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know what spoke to your heart. And if you'd like more gentle inspiration for your garden, your home, and your golden years, don't forget to subscribe. This space is for you always. Until next time, dear friend, may your days be slow, your hands be gentle, and your garden, no matter how small, continue to grow in kindness. Happy gardening.